Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I don't want to waste anyone's time and I want to be able to get through as many of these resources as possible. I want to welcome everyone. I'm Nancy McDowell, Secondary Curriculum Coordinator. I've got all of the coaches online, and I just wanted to be able to go over some of these resources that they have been putting together for everyone. And hopefully, you have access to this document. If not, let us know. We've tried to send this out through the principals and other ways. So just know that if you find resources that you think that are worthy, let's add them to the spreadsheet. So just email myself or the coaches or let your admin know as they have access as well. First thing that I want to bring your attention is that at the bottom of this, you will see that you have tabs. So just notice that there are lots of different tabs. First, on this first tab, there are education companies currently offering free resources. There are a whole bunch here that right now they are offering free access to. And even more here, if you notice at this one where it says even more resources, if you click on that one, hopefully you can see this, but this one also is being updated at the same time. And this gives a good description of each one as well. So you can sort of go through and read the description. And then also it tells you what the free service is offered on the right. So a couple of them that I want to point out on here is Common Lit. Common Lit is a great resource really for any subject. You really don't have to log in or anything. You can use the library function on the left. If you do sign up, it's completely free, but you can look through books, you can look through genre, grade level, text set. It even has some Spanish text as well. So I wanted to point out Common Lit. The next tab is all contents, and we have the website name, the links, and the descriptions on the right. So these can be for any content. Again, a couple things I wanted to point out is Newsela has opened up for all of the schools, actually district wide, so you have access to that in their library. So that will have articles leveled by Lexile, so you can have your students read those articles. It should be linked through your Canvas now. That button should pop up that says Newsela in Canvas, and you should be able to use that. If not, they're trying to work on that right now. I know Northview has that. So you should be able to do that. And then also just a couple other ones that Newsela put together. There are some resources for students on the coronavirus, and they created just a resource for kids to learn about right now and specific articles on that. And then the last one I want to point out, there are some modified lessons for students with learning disabilities. This is a great website right now. She's added maps and globes, biology, and she's reading Because of Winn-Dixie each day, and she's adding different things. So these are great modified lessons already created for you as well. So all of these resources are completely free again and great to look through as you start planning some of your learning activities. And if it comes to the point we are doing e-learning days when we return, these are great resources as well, as most of these websites and companies are really offering free access for several months, because I think this is going to be ongoing. So next I'm going to hand it off to Andrea McCoy, and she's going to go ahead and talk about the next couple of tabs.
Hi, everybody. Glad to see a lot of familiar faces. I don't know, emojis. I don't know, here, Bitmojis. First off, I want to highlight Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is one of my favorite things that I would leave when I had a sub. So the great part about Edpuzzle is students watch videos. It could be a video you created. It could be a video from YouTube. And then you add in quiz questions. So when the kid is watching the video, if they click off the video, it pauses. So they have to watch it. You also know if they watched it when they log in, so you can track and see who has actually watched your video, which is a little different than putting it on YouTube because you don't know if they actually took the time to watch it or not. And then the other component is adding in those quiz questions. So you can do some check for understandings throughout that. Those can be multiple choice, written response, and then it's also feedback for the student as well as to whether they're understanding that content. Edpuzzle is a really great tool, and if you need help using it, I'd be happy to FaceTime you and get you started. But it's one of those things that once you kind of do one or two, it's great. I will show you as we move forward as well. I know particularly on the math and science tab that someone has made a list of Edpuzzles already created. So that means that the videos are there as well as those questions already embedded. So you don't have to create your own, or you can just modify what somebody else has already done. Nancy, can you go back to all content for just a hot second?
Sure.
Thank you. The one other thing I want to point out to you is Edulastic. Edulastic is online assessment tools. Y'all, this is not super exciting or super engaging, but it is a way to gather assessment data from students. And when you go on to Edulastic, you can look and see by state, by content, and then by standard. So there are specific questions linked to Indiana state standards. If you are looking for iLearn practice questions, those, like all those ones that were the released items, those are on Edulastic as well. Like somebody has already gone and put those into Edulastic. So students can practice with those. That's a nice way to distribute that resource as well. And I'd be happy to help you with that too. Looking at one other thing, Nearpod is great. It's free right now. If you love Nearpod in the past or you've never tried it, it's similar to Edpuzzle in that you can present and get feedback from kids. All right, looking at the math tab. Thanks, Nancy. I highlighted this Desmos activities. This has a great list of all the Desmos activities that are out there, and they're organized by content and by standard. At the top, Extra Math and SumDog are great for math facts and that sort of thing as well. So this is the Desmos sheet. And the nice part is for upper level math, you can tell it goes all the way to Algebra 2. Or if you're looking for something to fill in some of those gaps, it goes all the way down to second grade as well. So there's a lot of options on that. Can you scroll down, Nancy? I'm sorry, I can't see. Like I said, there are the Edpuzzle videos. The other thing that I really like is the one directly beneath that that has problem-based learning search engine that's specific for math. And so this will start to point out some of those projects or those rich math tasks that kids can work on. But it shows you can search, and it shows you all the different places it's pulling from. And there's quite a few there with some authentic math learning. We'll go to science now. Thank you. So one of my favorite places is, well, two favorite. It's Learn Genetics and HHMI Biointeractive. Some of these things are a little higher level for students. Some of them are not. There is more than just biology on these things. There's quite a bit there. So check out those two. They have videos, they have simulations, and it's all free. So that is really applicable, specifically in terms of 8th grade science with genetics and evolution. There's a lot of great resources there. Scrolling down a little bit, PhET simulations are great. They work on Chromebooks. Most of them work on Chromebooks now, which is wonderful. We also have those Edpuzzle videos that are in there, just like they had for math. And then on the front page of all content, we talked about Brain Pop, which most science teachers use pretty regularly, but that is all free at this point. And that's all I have for science. I've used a lot of these resources before, so if there are questions, please let me know. And I am going to hand it off to Laura so she can talk to you about L&L and INS.
Oh, hello everyone. It's Laura with English Language Arts. Nancy, if you could, oh, you're already on that tab. If you could scroll down a little bit, that would be great. I'm going to highlight three. The first one is more of a creative activity that you can do with students. It's Picklit. This was interesting because kids can go on it and they can select their own picture. From the top, there's things that are scrolling across, and then they can actually use the words to create a sentence or describe their picture however you would want them to use it. But I thought it would be just something a little bit different that they could do that would tie in English language arts and maybe even the grammar. So that's the first one. And then if we could go back and take a look at, if we keep scrolling down a little bit. Okay, the Tween Tribune, we all love New Zealand, and I think that's great. This is a little bit of a different option where if you look at the top of the screen, it is broken down by grade level. So if you have below grade level children or kids reading above grade level, you could pick that band or instruct them to pick that band. But then within that, the articles are also lexiled. So this would be a good resource for special education students or your English language learners. And it is searchable, so presumably you could search for a specific topic. And then the last one that I wanted to show Lang and Lit teachers is a company, if we could go back, Nancy. It's the Ready Reading, okay? Now let me just explain something a minute before we click on anything, is that Ready Reading does require you to sign up as a teacher, and signing up gives you access to the teacher toolbox, and it's completely free. And there's some steps that you have to go through. But what I wanna show you or talk you through with this is that Ready Reading has all of the reading skills and strategies. You have access to kindergarten through 8th grade, and they provide 13 to 15-minute videos about that reading skill or strategy. And then what they have is worksheets that go along with that. Your students probably wouldn't print out the worksheet, but you could use something like Kami to turn it into a PDF that they could write on within their Chromebook. So, or some of you might just only want to use the instructional video. They're high quality and it's a pretty solid product. So that is my top 3 Lang and Lit resources. If we go on to INS, I highlighted a couple here. I think I have 3 here as well. One that I liked was Facing History. It is searchable by topic and offers a variety of options as far as video or pictures, that sort of thing, that you could use as part of your lesson sequence. And then if we go ahead and scroll down a little bit, iCivics, some of you may already know about this one. If you're doing any civics type lessons, it is more comic or game-like, but it does, if you scroll down, it does show all different topics tied to civics. And then probably for all teachers, but definitely INS is, if we scroll down a little bit, it is the HyperDocs. So I did put 2 options here. This is a website where you can go and you can search by topic, and it will give you HyperDoc choices, which is a lot like a virtual learning path where the document is hyperlinked and it will take your students to different websites and have them do different tasks. If we go back to the spreadsheet, Down below it, there's one called secondary hyperdocs, and that's an option where it's broken down by content. So, depending on if you're world language or history, whatnot. So this one is 7th grade world history. It's a hyperdoc example. We could, yeah. Okay, so like Rome, China, whatnot. And then the last thing I want to talk about with hyperdocs, and Nancy, you don't have to click on this one, but I just want to make everyone aware that there is a Facebook group, and it's linked over to the right there, specifically for hyperdocs. And so no matter what your grade level or content is, you can join the Facebook hyperdoc group, and they are uploading like things hourly as people are creating. So now what I'm going to do, that's all that I have for INS, is I'm going to hand it over to Madeline.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Hi, everybody. Good to see you and have some connection here. So I'll talk a little bit about some options for advisory and social emotional learning resources. So down at the bottom at the advisory/SEL tab, actually the thing I'm going to most highlight, if you click on, Nancy, the second one, the virtual advisory/CPR, this is something that Becca Christensen and I actually started working on yesterday, and we're going to pilot this tomorrow of using the Canvas conference line to actually do like a virtual advisory with students. And so we're doing that tomorrow at 10, so we can kind of share some takeaways. But we put together kind of what a sample lesson could look like that is sort of in the format of a CPR. So this is completely optional. If this is something you would want to do, I would be happy to help you with that, or you can check in with Becca about the just technology and setting it all up and all of that and how things go. But then I am also thinking ahead to like, if we do continue this and have to go to official e-learning, then is this something that we could sustain? So kind of playing around with that. So this is a lesson structure that we're going to kind of experiment with tomorrow, doing a virtual greet and check-in and modifying some of the developmental designs practices to make them virtual, incorporating some kind of game. So tomorrow we're going to try like the counting 1 to 10 without, two people saying the same number. We're going to try that virtually. Checking in with students just about their Canvas or any questions that they might have with technology, and really just giving students a chance to connect with each other and connect with their teacher as well. And then another thing that we're going to think about doing is a virtual show and tell, just to kind of continue to bring the joy. So having students pick an object from their house and talk about it, just trying to like come up with ideas for things that are super interactive and engaging, and getting students to just have that opportunity to connect with each other. So then if you go down, actually looking at number 5. So another thing we talked about, because I know admin has asked everyone to connect with their advisory students one-on-one. So that could be an opportunity, if you wanted to do a virtual advisory like this, to get kids to sign up for a time that they could talk with you over the next couple of weeks. And then here, this is a work in progress, the ideas and resources. So we've got different categories here, and these are things that we just started brainstorming. So please email me or Becca if there's anything you want to add to this, or things that you're going to try out and do. Please share that so we can get that shared with everyone. But just different ideas for how to modify some of our greets and shares to be virtual, protocols that you can follow. So if you keep scrolling down, like the group PowerPoint, a teacher at Eastwood is actually doing that and already has students adding to the PowerPoint of just reflections on things that they've experienced throughout this week, and you can make that super creative as well. Emma from Eastwood is also doing a Padlet, which I thought was really cool. So I threw those links in there as examples, and then just continuing to add different games and activities that you could do with your kiddos. So that's the virtual CPR and advisory document that, again, is still a work in progress. So please reach out if there's anything really cool that you want to add to that. And I'm going to continue adding to that as well. the top, so SEL at Home, this is a resource that I actually started to put together because I got a lot of parents reaching out just about like, what are some things I can do with my kids at home. So this is a document that you could actually share with families, that I've actually already been sharing. So these are things that parents can do at home that are social emotional learning focused. Most of them are free, but then I threw a couple books in there at the bottom, things that people could check out or purchase if they wanted to or had the resources. So lots of mindfulness, lots of just like reflecting on technology use, especially right now as we kind of move to that being the focus. And then if you go down, Nancy, let's see, this is on the other document too, but the Parent Teen Connect is another resource I want to highlight. This is great for parents, but also I've just like learned a lot from looking at some of these resources myself. So once it loads, this is actually published by Second Step. So right now, Second Step isn't releasing any of their materials, like their videos and things. But what I'm going to plan on doing is maybe coming up with some kind of scope and sequence if we do move to e-learning officially after spring break. So just more to come on that, but I don't know what's going on. As of right now, there isn't anything Second Step that we can use in Canvas, but I'll keep kind of thinking through what that could look like in the future. But anyways, Parent Teen Connect is published by Second Step, and it's not working right now, but it's a great site. It's very user friendly. It has just some tabs at the top that are covering different topics for teens. Technology use is a big one, relationships, teenage independence, and how to kind of cultivate that and strike a good balance with that. So there's some good things in there too that could be great for teachers and students. And then, yeah, the site might just be down right now. I know that they're working like crazy on just modifying a lot of things on their website, trying to make things more accessible. But I know their priority right now is K-5 because all of their materials are not digitally like ours are on the middle school level. So I know they're working a lot on the K-5 materials to try to make them accessible electronically, but I'll keep checking on that as far as the middle school resources and what we can and can't use. And then another thing I want to highlight, if you keep going down, is the Mindful Life Project. And Walt shared this with me, so I know that he's used it before as well. But this is an awesome website with a lot of just like cool interactive mindfulness videos and resources for kids, just to like keep them engaged, but still, working on some of their social emotional skills. So that's a really great resource as well. And that is primarily what I wanted to highlight. So if you are interested in piloting doing some virtual advisories, just reach out to me. Again, Becca and I are going to be doing one tomorrow with her kiddos, so I can kind of let you know how that goes. I guess I can also talk about the last tab there. So if you click on the teacher learning, we thought that maybe this would be a good opportunity just to continue to explore and learn. So we put some of our favorite resources for teacher learning and development, some of our favorite podcasts. So if you have something, also please send it to us and we'll add to that.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yeah, one thing that is added there is a blog post from IB about student agency in the individual and society's classroom, and some of the great ideas coming out of there, especially if we're trying to review content over the next week or so, perhaps asking students to create some sort of presentation or so to share with their classmates to reteach some of the things that they have learned throughout class, and that could go with any classroom. And then the Getting Smart site down there is a great one for looking at student agency and considering what that can look like through a cultural responsive lens. And so it's a nice little article to read about and to think about these systems and such that we have in place in our online versions or in our actual classrooms that may be hindering student agency without us thinking. So. Back to you, Nancy.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to just go over some of the electives that we have on here. I'm sure that most of you are aware of code.org if you're an elective teacher, but I also want to point out Conjugamos is on here. And then there are two at the bottom, the Spanish Experiment and the Fable Cottage. These are great sites for Spanish children's stories. And then also the Fable Cottage, they have bilingual tales for language learners, French, Spanish, German, and Italian. So if you have students that are dual language learners, then you have some resources there as well. There's an art bingo board. I thought this was awesome. A teacher at Eastwood, Destiny Cooper, created this. So I just want to show you what this looks like. So you could even make a copy of this here through File, make a copy, and create your own bingo board. I know some of the coaches are working with different teachers on creating different activities to do at home, so they're not completely all online as well. So if you want help doing something like that, the coaches are available. And then I think that was all that I wanted to highlight on here. There's lots of virtual field trips that are available now. EverFi has free online lessons on SEL, financial literacy, health, and wellness. There's a lot of, I see online art lessons, online working out. So we will put those things here when we see that. I know there's a remote guide to music education as well. So we just wanted to point those out as well. I just want to thank everybody for hopping on for 30 minutes and listening. And we just want you to know if you need help with any of these, we are completely available to do a webinar for you. If it's easier for us to just create a tutorial and send it to you on a specific website, please let us know. All the coaches are available to help. So we just want to make sure that you reach out if you need anything. And I think that's about it. Does anyone have any questions if you want to ask in the chat? If not, you can unmute yourself.
I would like to add that one thing you might consider is having students creating like an agenda for the day, what they plan on learning, how they're going to go about that learning. All those things would also promote student agency and letting them take control of their learning, whether it's across classes or within your class. And such. And, again, some of the mindfulness practices could also be, incorporated into that timetable. So.
Yep. So please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the coaches. I know Madeline, Laura, and Andrea, they've all had Zoom meetings and been meeting with different teachers. If you need help with your activities or possible e-learning lessons for the future, let us know. Email us. I've recorded this, so hopefully it will work. And if so, we will send that out. But you should have access to that Google Doc in the chat. And we will also just follow up with the link again and then give you a copy of this video as long as it works. So we just want to thank everyone for taking time out and joining us. And please reach out if you need anything. Thank you.